when typically when you ask somebody what nature is, they'll say, well, it's the sum total of laws of nature in the universe, right? It's gravity, the weak force, the nuclear force. And what they do is immediately is they segregate the different sections of how they think the universe works into different sections. Right? They'll say that there's gravity, or there's different sciences, there's physics, there's biology, there's chemistry, and these are different ways of how the universe works. Well, no, that's wrong. There isn't. It's not that there are different ways in which the universe works, and that chemistry is a totally different thing from physics. No, there's a deep interconnection here. There's from the universe's perspective, from nature's perspective, there are no different laws in nature. There's only one. There's only one conglomeration of these laws of nature. The question is, where do these laws come from then, right? Well, it's only from our minds that do these laws emerge as separate, distinct things. Because that's how the brain works. That's how our brains want to see the world. That makes it easier for us to divide the universe, to segregate the universe into different sections in which we can pinpoint or focus into. But the universe doesn't care about the laws of nature. The universe doesn't follow laws of nature. The laws of nature are merely descriptive of it. What's it? You realize now that what we call nature is really unknown. We don't know what nature is. All we can do is describe it in the best way we can. But we are limited as living organisms, right? We are limited by what? Our biology. The interactions between the molecules in my brain, they're right now in my brain are working together to produce this awareness that gives me the notion of being able to describe things. There's gravity, there's a weak force, there's a nuclear force, right? So really our brains are the things that are really separating reality into different sections, which we often forget about. We often forget that we do this. We do this all the time with space and time. We think that space and time are different things. No. There's a way, and there's a way that you can actually meld them together into one. So you can actually describe the entire universe as one entity. And a good example of this, a good example of a mistake people make is the fine-tuning argument. What they'll do is they say, well, the laws of nature, Mike, if they were different by a little bit, we wouldn't be here, right? If you tweaked gravity a little bit, if you made gravity a bit higher, a bit lower, well, we wouldn't be here. If all the rest of the laws were the same and you tweaked gravity, we wouldn't be able to exist. Well, who says that that's even possible? Maybe the universe isn't separated by laws. Maybe there's only one entity. And the universe doesn't see gravity and the weak force and the strong force as different forces. It sees them as one. And from nature's perspective, there's one way to describe all these things. So it's a very profound realization when you recognize that the universe, as we think we know it, is really only coming from our brains and how our brains work. And this is something that I've talked about before, the flicker fusion frequency. The notion that every living organism has a different interpretation of reality and how time works. For example, a turtle processes information much slower than a human. So from the turtle's perspective, right, because of the way their brain works, they see time passing much faster than a human. They see things moving very quickly around them, and they're just going, whoa, right, everything's fast. Turtles are much slower at processing information, which makes it give the illusion that time around them is moving faster relative to how we would see time, right? To us, we see time moving at about 60 hertz. But to a fly or an insect or a bee, they see time moving much slower than we do, relatively speaking, because they can process information faster than we can. So the point here is that even time itself, and as Einstein said, the passage of time is an illusion, right? The idea that time passes, that every moment's different, that is an illusion brought about by the brain. So the point here is that how we interact with the universe is different than what the universe is, but we typically assimilate the two. We typically synonymize the two. We typically say that how we describe the universe is how the universe works. Or even more arrogantly, we say the universe follows our laws. No, the universe doesn't follow laws. The universe is. Nature just is. And it's not divided into different subjects. It's not divided to physics or chemistry or biology. No, to nature, it's all one. And we are limited in our scope of understanding it because of our biology. We often come to conclusions about reality that are often a step ahead of what we actually know. So, so we have to be careful before we make assumptions about reality and how it works. And we have to recognize that there's a dynamic there between what we interpret and how nature is. There's a difference. We have to be cautious not to be so arrogant to think that we have things figured out enough to make an assessment, a true assessment about the absolute nature of reality. We have to be cautious and continuously remember, and remind ourselves that our scope of reality is limited and perhaps always will be limited in a way that will pretty much stop us from really seeing the true nature of reality. And all we can do, the best we can do, is describe it, and that's what science is here for.